There was something innate in me, a fuel to my fire that just kept me reaching. And it wasn't about like looking way far down the road as to of course I had goals, I had dreams, but it was living in the present moment. Just trying to be the best that I can be on this field this day, playing Little League Baseball. I want to be the star, I want to be the best shortstop. I want to hit everything I see. Those type of feelings of just competing in the moment. Oh, bird dog, bird dog. There you go.
Welcome to Between Shots. We're out here at the beautiful CordeValle here in San Martin, California. I am with Jeff Garcia, NFL quarterback, family man, friend of the show, and today he's my golf partner. Jeff, what a great day for some golf, man. You ready?
Beautiful day. Let's get it going.
Well, let's hit some balls and have some good conversations, and let's tee it up. Go ahead.
Absolutely. All right, Mike.
Good ball. Played here before, huh?
I actually look like I know what I'm doing.
Make sure you got that camera rolling on those shots, McGee.
I mean, yeah, it might be the best you see all day for me. Who's this right here? Is that me? Oh, bird dog, whoa. Bam!
Every time.
What a way to start.
Look at this guy, right at it. Go in, please go in.
Is it there?
Yeah, it's there.
Bang. Slow down. Oh, man.
Come on.
Miguel is going to just have to follow me everywhere now.
Oh, 2 in a row right there. Welcome back to Between Shots. I'm Mike Luevano. Today, hold on. I've got a guest on today. I've heard him introduce people. I've heard him online. I've heard him speak in front of thousands. I've seen videos in the locker room. I'm going to do it the style my guest would do it today, not how I would do it today. So let me start that back over for everybody here. Welcome back to Between Shots. I'm Mike Luevano. Today, I'm sitting down with the guy I've known for nearly 20 years, 2 full decades, a 4-time Pro Bowler, a guy who's brought the same competitive fire into everything he does. My guest, my friend, Jeff Garcia. Come on, Jeff.
There you go, Mike. Let's get it started, big guy. Let's go, man. Getting fired up. Hey, you got to be fired up and fuel the fire to get, each day to be the best that it can be.
Oh, man. I took some words you said the other day. All grit, no quit, man. So I can't wait to get rolling into this. All right, man. Well, shoot. I'm going to tell everybody kind of how the process of this show works and how we film it because we got to get into some things here, Jeff. So typically the format is we go play some golf ahead, play a round of golf. And then in the following day or two, we come back and we do this part of the interview, right? But you had Super Bowl week going on while we're filming this. And you had a lot of stuff going on. So let's kind of fill people in of what's happened since the day we golfed and the day now. Because I've noticed, I'm going to point out a few things before you answer this. You've got no beard. I saw that you hit a hole in. I saw that you hit a hole in one a few days after we played golf, and we talked about it quite a bit. I know I saw you at the Super Bowl. I saw you doing all these events. I know you flew to your daughter for the father-daughter dance. Fill me in, man. What's been going on since we last played some golf?
So we played golf the Saturday, about a week and a day before the Super Bowl, and then I had one event after the next pretty much for 6 days straight. And so partaking in Super Bowl events, charity events all around the Bay Area, through my own event with Sushi Confidential in San Jose. We had a great event for the NFL alumni. Again, raising money for charity, bringing awareness to charity. Had some great sponsors, great support, had a lot of fun. That led to a flight home back to San Diego. So I live in San Diego, North County, San Diego. And obviously, being up in the Bay Area all week, I had planned my week probably a month and a half before the Super Bowl. And then my daughter let me know that her father-daughter dance was on the Friday night before the Super Bowl. And I'm like, honey, why would they do that to us? They can't be scheduling a father-daughter dance on Super Bowl weekend.
No,
But I see you guys, like, even on social media, like, I see pictures and you sharing stuff, and
yeah,
so
totally.
it's nice to have
I
that.
think it's for our kids. That was the main thing. Was we may not be the perfect home together, but we can be a good support and continue to have consistency with how we parent and how we communicate, which is the key at the end of the day, is just being able to communicate and supporting each other, right? When she has a problem with one of our kids, she needs me to support her and not choose the side of the child or whatever it may be, you know? And because I think at the end of the day, we both want what's best for our kids. And so we need to be the parents that set the standard, not allow the kids to dictate, right? And my oldest daughter is like that, where all of a sudden things don't go well at home with her mom. She wants to jump sides.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't happen like that.
But I'll say this, dude. I mean, I think two things. I'll say two things. One, that happens even in a same home. You know, when you were a kid,
without a doubt.
I'm going to go ask mom for this because dad's going to say no.
Sure.
But even now, like, I think it's healthy for your kids to see you in a healthy relationship with your current girlfriend, and like, this is how your daughters. This is how a man's supposed to treat me, and this is how, you know, it's not arguing or culture, whatever was happening, you know, with their mom. And same thing for her. Like, you know, it's nice for them to
positivity.
See that, like, okay, this is a healthy relationship.
Love, affection, those sort of things. And I came from a family where hugging, kissing, embracing was expected. I mean, that's how you greeted each other. And so that's important to me, is to have that, like, I want them to feel my love and know that I have, you know, I want the best for them and that they have my support. And we're blessed. I mean, we have 4 good kids about to jump into that college
Now the fun begins.
mindset of where's our daughter going to go to college, and helping to support her through it. You know, she has some great options which could take her out of the state, but I think that'll be great for her. To leave San Diego, experience something else, somewhere different. Be out on your own and see, now that you have to handle things on your own, how blessed you were that your mom and dad were there to handle a lot of things for you. They don't realize that, you know, and naturally, like you said, you kind of wanted to parent like your dad, but you're a little bit softer. I mean, we naturally, I think, as parents in today's day and age, we are softer to an extent. There's not the discipline that we had imposed upon us when we were kids. And that was just life. That's how it was. And it created a fear to where...
conversation.
No.
Bob say, this is the rule, or...
And and there was a fear to not wanting to have to go through that again. You hopefully learned that lesson one time. Otherwise, there were going to be some beat downs, literally. And it's different, right? You can't do that to the kids or whatever the situation is. But that being said,
he just had to
when you disappointed your parents, and that look and that feeling of disappointment, like. And so for me, knowing what my family had already gone through with the disappointments, the tragedies, the last thing I wanted to do was to disappoint anymore.
That being said, I adjusted my Friday schedule. I cleared it. I flew home after a morning event, which was a great event at the Boys and Girls Club with the Man of the Year honorees. And one of the guys that I connected with and kind of, I think in ways reminds me of how I played the game was Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield happens to be my son Jax's favorite NFL player as of now. And he's had the different jerseys. He's had the Baker Mayfield Carolina jersey. He's had the now Tampa jersey. I told Baker, if he makes me buy any more jerseys, I'm gonna send him a bill. And he said, "Hey, I got you, man. No problem. Whatever I can do to support your family." But that being said, we had a good conversation. Met Jordan Love as well, you know, a talented young quarterback for Green Bay. Just met a lot of good young players who are doing great things in their community because that's what it's all about. That being said, that was Friday morning. I jumped on a flight, flew to San Diego Friday afternoon, literally got home. As you had seen me, I had a full on Santa beard going on. And yeah, it was getting out there. And my daughter and son, I have 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. My youngest two are always on my case. Dad, shave your beard. Dad, shave your beard. You look so much younger, Dad. Well, I like the beard, and I've had the beard now kind of different lengths for the last probably decade is when I started kind of messing around with it when I coached in Montreal back in 2014. I think was the first time I ever grew a beard. I'd never grown like facial hair. I'd always shave, keep it clean. Finally grew a beard. So I've been playing with that for the last decade, right? So the kids are like, Dad, and I told them, okay, after the Super Bowl, I'll shave it. Okay. So that meaning, hey, maybe Monday after the Super Bowl game on Sunday. And here I am going to events all week long and I'm showcasing this full on beard. Well, it was my daughter's special night, her father-daughter dance. She's an 8th grader at a little private school. So there's only about 10 girls in the class. So they all do a special delivery message to their dads as we sit in front of our daughters. And it's really a special night. And it was her last one being an 8th grader. So I had to be there, first of all.
Of course.
Secondly, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to shave the beard for her and make it her night in the sense of how she wants me to look and be and all those things.
You pretty calm and like regular when shit happens. You see your kids.
To a point, I want to teach them, right? I want to teach them respect, values, that things just don't happen for free. Things just aren't given to you. You have to earn it, man. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for them to understand, living in the situation that they've lived in, growing up where they've grown up. Like sometimes I feel like I did them a disservice by living in such an exclusive, nice place. But that's what we wanted to give to our kids and for us, right? I felt like I earned it. This is where I want to be. And next thing you know, you've created this lifestyle where things are happening really easily for them.
Right.
And I didn't have that growing up, and my wife didn't have that growing up. There was something about growing up on a farm and learning work ethic and all that.
Oh, that's nice, dude. Look at this.
Oh, yes. And the day after I get back, on Sunday I got back, watched the game, all the Super Bowl stuff. Monday morning, I had promised a buddy, his dad was turning 93 years old. Awesome, awesome guy. And this is my great friend here in San Diego. Him and his wife, we do a lot of things together. And his dad lives in Oregon, but they come down to visit every once in a while. And for 93 years old, this man is an active man. I mean, he is like a legend in his own right and someone to idolize with how he could still play golf. The guy himself nearly hit a hole in one. And it just was like a weird day. It like seemed like something was going to happen, And then all of a sudden I step up on the 11th hole, grab a wedge. I strike it clean.
How far? How far? Give us the setup.
I mean,
here. What's this isn't something you just walk over, man. Give us the setup here.
Well, we're playing on a executive course, okay? So the holes aren't as long. But
It doesn't matter.
we're gonna call it, I think they had a plaque made. We're gonna call it 131 yards,
Okay,
okay?
that's a legit par three.
And so, I take the wedge and I strike it clean. And actually, I'd been hitting the wedges pretty well that day and had some good tee offs to the greens on the par threes. And I hit it nice. It looked great. I see it bounce and then roll. and literally disappear. And I'm not sure because it was an elevated hole. The hole was elevated. I wasn't sure if it went off. Maybe there was a little slope that it just disappeared. But I'm like, man, that could be a hole in one. And we're talking and we're like, yeah, it could be a hole in one. Let's see. And so that's why I actually started the videotape as I walked toward the green. And my buddy had hit a nice shot about 10 feet from the hole. And we got up to the green and there was only one ball on the green. And then I saw the mark where the ball hit, literally probably 3 feet from the hole, and just rolled right in, man. And it was, as we had talked when we played on that day, which people can see how that day started on
Yeah.
video with you and I. I mean, that was, here I hit a hole in one, but on that day I started out birdie birdie. I had never
Oh,
done that before. That was the first time that I ever hit two birdies in a row. And here it's the first and second hole. And hey, you saw,
and
I showed up. There was no warming up on the driving range. I showed up ready to play, and we went, and started off the day great there. But it was just it was a great week, man. A great week of, you know, charity, a great week of reconnecting with old teammates at an NFL alumni gathering, at a 49er alumni gathering, meeting younger players that are currently in the league, seeing a lot of good people that I've crossed paths with in my past and reconnected with, and just being able to, do some giving back, and playing a little golf. That was fun. I mean, and doing some fun things on the golf course.
did your friend's dad, 93, did he shoot his age?
He actually bettered. He shot a 71,
That's the
shot
goal,
a
man.
71. I mean, he was legit out there. He hit the ball well. I mean, obviously it doesn't go as far as it probably went 20 years ago, but he's down the middle. He's accurate, I mean, and
I
takes
love
it
it.
seriously. Takes it
Yeah.
seriously. And here's the thing, I was wiped out, right? I was exhausted from the
You
week and a
think?
day or two of being away from home, right? And so that probably helped because in my swing, I was so relaxed, right? The
Right.
more relaxed you are, the better it is. Well, I told him because my buddy's like, yeah, my dad normally probably is good for about 9, 10 holes. And I said, well, today, I I might be tapping out at the ninth hole. I might play nine and I might tap out. And if your dad's ready to go, I'll take him with me. Well, the way this executive course works, the ninth green is not near the clubhouse, which, on a normal 18-hole course, your ninth green is generally near the clubhouse. So if you want to
Sure.
leave at nine, that's the time to leave. Well, it wasn't there, right? So I'm like, well, I might as well just stick through it and continue to play. If I would have stopped at nine, there would have never been a hole in one. So it's a
We would
good thing
we
that
would
I
we would have
continued
already
on.
we would have already been on to the next topic, man.
You're
But now,
right. You're right.
but now you've got that chalked in. It's funny when we were playing, we kept talking about hole in ones because Bozo, who we golfed with that day, Dave, he's got five, I've got two, and one of mine sounds just like your story. I was playing with Charlie, with Josh Garcia, and Bozo. We were at Cinnabar in San Jose, and it was elevated. It was about 100. It was 110 yards or so. And the same thing, man. I hit one. There was like a little bump right there, so you couldn't see it, and I couldn't tell if it was close or if it rolled off the side when we pulled up there. So if you see the video, I might even put it on this thing just so you can kind of see it when we air this. I've got two wedges in my hand and my putter walking towards the hole as we're filming this because I think I might be having to chip up, from this hill. And so we got
Right.
there and man, I'll tell you this too. At that time, Charlie paid for my golf. It was the day after Christmas. I was going through some financial stuff, and here I am now hitting a hole in one. I got to buy these guys drinks, and I was like, this is wrong time, man. Like, why couldn't we have done this some other time? But you know what, man? It's a fun story to tell, and people always ask you if you got a hole in one, and now you can start that question because then you can say, oh yeah, I got one too. So
Right. Right. I have one in the bag. Have one in the bag. The pressure's off, man. The
yeah.
pressure's off now. It's like, hey, finally landed one. So
Now
yeah,
now they start coming. And last thing, you talked about all the fun stuff you did and people you got to catch up with. I'm gonna jump on that train, man. We got to spend a few hours out there golfing on a beautiful day. I mean, it had to be what 70 degrees out there at CordeValle, and they do everything right out there, and it's fun. I was gonna come down to down in your neighborhood up and down south and play some golf there at your home course, but doing it down in Gilroy and at CordeValle, and man, it's just to me it just added to that special thing. And I know you got to spend some time with your family while you're down there and your mom and dad, and get to see some of your ex-players. But for me, it's always I left there, telling Miguel like, man, I love days like this, dude. We got to catch up, and like I said, the whole point of the show is it's not an interview. I was very grateful for you coming on here, but it's conversation, and we got to catch up about our kids and family and kind of projects we're working on now and just having that talk. So I appreciate it, man, as a friend. So it was good for me just, and so hearing you talk about those things, I had that same experience, man, and doing that. So thank you again, and I'm sure I'll probably thank you 10 more times before this is over. But that was such a great time, which leads me to something else here. I want to jump in and kind of move on to here. At the end of that, my producer Miguel and friend, he's a videographer. He's producing all this for me, and when we set out for this show, it really, when I had this idea, it was my show, right? Like I have this idea, I'm going to do this, and we filmed a couple episodes now, and it's really become our show. I mean, you got to see Miguel in action, and he's just a good dude. And he had brought his dad along for a couple of the episodes to help him out and assist him. And, he got a chance to meet,
right.
His dad. And, some of the conversations, whether they make the show or not, it's just that human level. And there was something that happened after, and I'm sure you saw it, or I know you did saw me post about it, because cameras were pretty much off. We're having a moment before we take off. You're heading back up to the city, and during the round, you and Miguel's dad had talked about where we're from, and from Jalisco, and my family's there, and their family's there. But I wanted to have Miguel hop back on here real quick and just kind of tell what happened even after we left on the car ride home and when his dad came home, because I saw how special it was from my vantage point. But I would love, Miguel, if you can jump on here and kind of tell that story real quick. I would love to share that with everybody.
Jeff, Two Birds Garcia. What's going on, man?
What's happening?
It's
Miguel,
good
how
to
are
see
you,
you
buddy?
again.
Yeah,
Good,
you
thank
too.
you. Yeah, like Mike said, that was a really special moment. And honestly, it wasn't as special when we were there. It was great. I really appreciate you taking the time to sign that for him. But it was really afterwards, my dad and I were having dinner, and Mike, had wrote that post, and the two of us were looking at it together at dinner, and we're getting choked up, like we're sharing this special moment all over again. And it didn't hit me at the time, but when we looked at that post again and the photo of us together with that signed ball, it was really, really special. And I think it was because it brought us, together, like back to our Mexican roots, right?
Hmm.
That connection of Jalisco. And honestly, my dad has not stopped talking about it. It's such a special moment that we got to share. So I just wanted to jump on and thank you for being so humble and being so gracious with your time. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, it was great to meet you and your dad as well. I mean, I have a great relationship with my father, and I know those moments when we're able to bond together and do things together and just be around each other are memorable moments. And and just to be able to, I mean, I just look at myself as just that kid from Gilroy, right? That fulfilled a dream to be able to play in the professional ranks, to play in the NFL and all of that. But I still feel like I'm just this kid that grew up on a farm, right? And came from very humble beginnings. And I probably don't put as much of a magnitude on what it would be like playing with me or being around me for a day. But then I could also say, imagine, me at some point in my life when maybe I wasn't a professional athlete, but being around a professional athlete and getting to experience that, and just also, you know, seeing that, hey, there's there's good in that person, and that person cares about, my dad and his background and the connection there. And, it wasn't just about, I answer a question that's asked to me and then I'm quiet, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting to know not only Mike through the day, but also you and your dad. And, I mean, hell, you're a hell of a golfer too. I mean, like, you were like the star golfer out there. I mean, we were just the guys that were trying to get the ball to the green. You actually knew what you were doing and could do it. But that being said, just being able to just be somewhat normal and humanize the whole experience, and that connection of Jalisco and where our grandparents are from and our families from. And that was really cool, and it's like one of those things that Saturday night the following week, when I was up in San Francisco and was at the Latino in Sports Awards, and what a great recognition and representation of Hispanic athletes, and just um, the climb that they have made, especially into the NFL, and the representation that is there in the NFL that is now being recognized. When I was playing, I felt like, man, why are we not promoting me to the Hispanic community? Why aren't I a bigger representative of the Hispanic community, of the Mexican families, and all of what, they have gone through work ethic wise, dedicating themselves to this country, climbing the ladder, all the things. And now I see it happening a lot more, right? But it's taken guys like myself and Ron Rivera and, prior Tom Flores. Your dad will love this because he's a Raider guy, right?
My
He's
favorite
a
coach of all time.
Raiders
That's my
guy.
favorite coach of all
Anyways,
time.
Absolutely.
Tom Flores, Jim Plunkett, some of those great Mexicanos that have coached, have played, have represented, they laid the foundation for what is happening today, where guys are finally being recognized and being put in front of those communities I mean, it's a marketing ploy, obviously, in a lot of ways. I mean, the power of the NFL is obviously a global connection, and they're taking the backgrounds of these players and utilizing that to create more of a following and more of a support type situation. But like, that's something that for me, I've always been really proud of that part of me, and wanting that to be recognized, even though I look like a white boy. And my dad was called a wedo growing up, but full-blooded Mexicano, he just was the light skin version of it. And so, that being said, it was just one of those things that I've always been extremely proud of, and wanting to be a representative of that culture, and how we could inspire and motivate and connect. And it's good to see finally that the NFL is doing a much better job.
I have some good conversations out here. Unbelievable what this guy does for charity, with his family, the community. And we're sitting here in beautiful Gilroy, his hometown, hearing all these hometown stories. Pretty special. He's even talking Spanish right now as we're here.
Oh, my grandparents came from Jalisco
So did
as
mine.
well.
Mine do.
San Juan de los Lagos.
San Juan de los Lagos is close. My mom always used to mention that.
Is that right? Yeah. So that's where my grandparents, my grandparents came from there. My grandfather ended up going back when my dad was young. He left the family, 9 kids, working in the fields here in Gilroy. And he went back to Guadalajara.
Yeah.
So I went last year. The 49ers did a 49er fan gathering in Guadalajara, because there's a ton of Niner fans. So we had about 250 people in this bar, and it was going crazy. But cousins of mine, I had never met them, came from San Juan de los Lagos to meet us there. And first time, they spoke very little English, mainly Spanish, but like, this is family, It was a really cool experience.
Me taking a step back, watching that happen at that moment, like, I got to see it from a outside, post, and it really hit me because you and I have been talking about, family and kids and moments and whatnot. So Miguel, thank you for jumping on and
Yeah,
telling that
absolutely.
story because it really is something special to me.
Of course. Thanks again,
So,
Jeff. You guys have a
yeah.
good one.
Sure thing.
Thank,
Tell your dad hello. Tell the
Absolutely.
real
Thank you.
Miguel hello. How he's got Mike and you're Miguel now. I mean,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Miguel Jr., Miguel Sr.
there
Yeah,
we
there you
go.
go.
She said, your dad still not slowing down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, here's the guy, 84 years old. He's changing out the siding on the home. He's on his knees all day, bending over. The dude is like exhausted. 3 days in a row, he's like doing that crap.
But if he wasn't doing it,
I know,
he
but
would,
like, be more selective over
I
like
got
what you put yourself through.
stay off the ladders.
Oh, for sure. That's the reckoning of an older person.
Yep. And your
They're
mom?
slowing down, they're slowing down. It just, you're
they still
seeing,
active,
but
or-
yeah, for the most part, they are, which thankfully.
Kind of on that note, man, I got to be around when you were playing, and man, your parents were so proud of you, right? And they were at every game, and so we're talking about Miguel's dad getting to come along with him on do this and share some of those experience. What was it like having your dad around, during your time of playing and having him that close to be able to be involved like that?
Yeah, I mean, it meant everything to me. I mean, part of my decision to go to San Jose State, just 30 miles away from home, was so that my family could still be involved in watching me play the game of football and having that connection. And then obviously that leading to the Canadian Football League for 5 years and then into the NFL. They saw a lot of football over those 20 or so years of college and professional football that I played. And, my dad was a coach, and being able to play for my dad, first of all, was one of the greatest experiences in my life because
Sure.
I grew up watching my dad coach and seeing how he just fueled people's fire. He inspired people, he motivated people, he loved on people, yet he was hard on them because he knew that they had a higher ceiling of what they could get to, and they just needed somebody to believe in them. And my dad was that guy that showed
Yep.
belief and showed a way that they could work to attain and bringing people together. And that's why I just love the game of football, man. It just is
Yep.
such a special sport in how you really have to come together in order to see your work pay off. If you don't do it collectively as a team, you're not going to see the results.
No.
You could be all everything, but if your teammates aren't on the same page or you're not on the same page with your teammates, it's not going to matter, right? And that's the biggest lesson, I think, for me in just watching my dad, understanding, hey, the dedication that it took, the work ethic that it took, and all those things. And then for me to play a season for him and then earn a scholarship, well, then the next year is when he had heart trouble.
Right.
And I was redshirting at San Jose State, so I wasn't playing yet. I was just a traveling third stringer on the team as a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, and he had to take a break from coaching. And that next year, when I actually was in the hunt for the starting position with a senior at San Jose State, and I got playing time, and I actually started 5 or 6 games that year in the middle of the season, I took over as being the starting quarterback. He didn't miss a single one of my college games. And he wouldn't have been able to do that. And I hate to say, if it weren't for his near heart attack, but it forced him to slow down and take another direction, but yet still be involved in the game of football, right? I don't know if he would have been able to handle that if I weren't playing football. Like, for him to not coach football or be around the game, I think would have killed him even faster,
It was meant to
than,
be,
than
man. It was meant to be.
so, like, the fact that him and my mom got to travel everywhere while I was playing in college. I mean, they went to my game at the University of Florida. They got to experience the whole Florida Gator uh, uh, mentality. And yeah, exactly. They went to University of Washington to my games against the Huskies. Obviously, Stanford and Cal local. They went to Louisville to watch me play against them.
Dude,
Wyoming, they saw
how
us
special, man.
beat Wyoming on a 60-yard field goal at the end of the game to like win it. I mean, they were there for every one of those games, which is just awesome when you think
Yeah.
back. Minnesota, my dad went to Minnesota and watched us play against the Golden Gophers, so like those type of things, had he been coaching, he obviously wouldn't have been able to travel to see
Nope.
me play because they play on the same day. He's
Yeah.
busy coaching, and my mom probably wouldn't have went by herself to all
Sure.
these different locations. So because of what happened, they were able to watch me. They didn't miss a single game. And then every tailgate at home was 30 family members of the Garcia family, the Elder family, all the families, cousins, aunts, uncles. They're all
Wow.
there to watch the games. My grandparents, my grandfather, Red Elder, who was a former player and coach
Yeah.
himself, they got to travel. They traveled to Calgary multiple times to watch me play. So many great experiences came out of the football life and just what they were able to enjoy with me. The Grey Cup championship, the comeback against the Giants, the playoff in Tampa, even though it
Yeah.
didn't go well. They were there. Hey, they were there in New Orleans when I played for the Eagles, and we, had a tough loss in the playoffs against New Orleans, but they were there. I mean, they were just there for so many of those great moments in my life, and for them to be there witnessing it firsthand, it was just amazing, man. I'm
I,
just so
I I love
blessed.
I love all of that, dude. And you're right. The Garcia clan and all of Gilroy, man. I mean, any team you left when you stopped playing, they lost some ticket revenue for sure because that they traveled strong. Let me ask you this: your dad was able to go out to all your games. As a kid, I never made it past my freshman year of football. Man, I was 124 pounds when I graduated, but every time I ever played anything, I was always looking for my dad in the stands. Right? I would look up there. Were you even from college to NFL? Did you know where your parents were? Would you look to your dad and look up there? Because I know you could hear him. I know you could hear your dad. That's for sure. But could you see him? Would you look
You
for him?
know, I think there were times, obviously, I was aware of where the visitors section was for games. So, like, if we were on the road, I would know the general area of where they were at. Um, but I think that when I hit the field, I didn't really pay much attention to that part of my life, and
Sure.
granted, my parents would tell me afterwards how it's so hard for them to sit in the stands through a game. They would be walking through the corridors of the stadium, like pacing, nervous, going through all of the roller coaster of emotions that as a player you can't afford to go through. You're just
No.
like even steady, right? But as a parent, I remember my mom being interviewed after we played Cal Berkeley in college, and we had gotten our lunch that day. We had been beaten pretty good, and I had been beaten up pretty good. I had a split chin, blood, all the things. And they interview my mom after the game, one of the local news channels, and she's damn near in tears, like just holding back the tears of how like hard it is for her to watch her son not just play football, but in that sort of instance, like get literally beat up on the field,
Oh yeah.
And for her, that was always the struggle. For my dad, the struggle was probably that he couldn't call the plays, and he didn't have any control of what was happening in the game like he did when he was coaching.
Right.
So the fact that he can't, so he's got a, he's got a judgment on every single play that is taking place. Well, why would he throw it there? Like, didn't he see the coverage? He's looking at it from a whole different perspective
Totally.
of knowledge of the game and like what we should be doing. Why didn't you guys throw more screens? Or why didn't you guys attack this side? They were playing that under, he just had a different perception, which is great because that's how I learned the game. And that's what I share with my son. Like, I tell my youngest boy right now, he wants to play quarterback. He's a freshman in high school. I'm like, look, dude, you can already throw the ball better than I could as a freshman. I was gangly, skinny, scrawny, not a strong arm, but I understood the game because I grew up with the game. I watched football with my dad. I watched my dad coach. We would sit on Saturday mornings and watch, ABC football with Keith Jackson, Oklahoma versus Nebraska, or Notre Dame versus Miami, like all those great football games in the 80s when I was starting to develop as a football player, wanting to play the game of football. My mind was always into it, watching the NFL on Sunday. And I tell my boy, I'm like, you don't sit and watch a game with me at all. And my buddy was right there with us, who I was golfing with, but my buddy was right there with us. And he goes, yeah, I sat down with your dad and your grandfather one day, and we're watching an NFL game. And it was like a full on education of football. It was almost too much for me to handle how they were talking about the plays and the decisions and the coverage and the things that were going on. He was like, I got a full on like football 101 education in a matter of an hour of watching the game with me and my dad, right? And I tell my son, like, you got the tools, but you got to learn the mental part of the game. That's what's going to separate you from kids who may be stronger, faster, bigger, whatever. I
Yeah.
wasn't the biggest guy. Always we know that. I've always been knocked for not having the size, the strength, all these things during the time that I played because the prototype was, hey, we want a Troy Aikman look-alike, 6'4", 225. I was
Right.
6'1", 185, 190 pounds. But mentally, I could battle with anybody. And I
Sure.
was tough, man. I was physically and mentally tough. Like you had to be wired a certain way to battle through other people's lack of expectation for you and
Yep.
prove to them that you belong. And that's what these kids today, like I say, all grit, no quit, that really exemplifies who I was because I was not going to give up. I was going to battle. I was going to continue to get up off the mat no matter how hard I got hit. I was getting up. I was not going to show my weakness. I was
Yeah.
not going to show that I was hurting physically or mentally at the time and battle through it. And that's what like characterized me as a player.
No, I love that, man. I love hearing that. Gonna kind of, that's a perfect time to kind of transition here. I'm just asking you about your dad watching you, at your games, and you sitting there and watching your dad when you were a kid, and you're telling these stories to your son, right, and to your boys, and I'm sure your daughters too. Now, your dad watching you as a parent, right? You're not playing football anymore. He's watching you, and he's watching his grandkids, and you with his grandkids grow up. I'm gonna ask Miguel. Miguel, put that on real quick. I want to show you something, Jeff, that I think is pretty special here.
Well, I think the biggest thing is how he cares about his kids, how he loves them, and uh, it seems like he wants the best for them. Um, he's a good father. I think not only that, but I think he understands them. And he tries to bring them up in a good, wholesome life, so they have a wholesome life.
I reached out to your sister and asked her to ask your dad, what's he most proud of you nowadays and as a parent, and that was his response. What do you think when you hear that and see that?
I mean, I appreciate, you know, how my dad looks at me because obviously even at 50, soon to be 56 years old, I still want to make my parents proud. And I know that I haven't always walked the fine line and I've fallen off at times and I've done some things that, I'm not proud of. But when I look at how I can continue to grow on a daily basis, what do I want to exemplify? And I do want to show that I am a caring, loving parent, that I do care about my children, that it's important for me to be active in their life. I just, I want my kids to want certain things in their own life. I want them to be respectful. I want them to understand that things aren't just going to be handed to them, given to them, that they do need to work for it. But I also am not trying to turn them into superstar athletes. I'm giving them the keys to the car, so to speak. If they want to take it for a ride and they need some guidance and help, I'm definitely there to provide it for them, but they also need to figure it out on their own and have to want it on their own. I mean, more than anything, I just want them to be good kids, and I want them to make good decisions. And I'm here to help guide them through it all and be a presence in their life. You know, I took that time 10, 11 years ago where I went into the coaching and I thought about, is this my next career path? Do I go into coaching in the NFL or professionally? And I coached in the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes. And then the next year, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. You know, I like being around the players and I liked being around football. So let me see if I could get in the NFL. And then I coached with the St. Louis Rams and Jeff Fisher for a season. And then I realized, you know what? Man, if I continue down this path, I'm never going to see my kids. I'm not going to know my kids. And so for me at that point, it was like, no, this is not my future right now. Hey, I can figure out other things down the road, but right now, my kids, they need their dad. They need me and I need them. And I want to be there for them. I don't want to miss their singing performances or their plays at school or their t-ball games and soccer games and all the little things that they did while they were 4, 5, 6, and 7, you know? And so that became a decision early on in their lives that I did not want to sacrifice that. And, you know, I'm thankful. I'm happy that I did make that decision. It's meant the world to me to be able to be around for them.
That's why I'm, so adamant about my kids playing sports and just experiencing that. I don't expect them to be pro athletes. I remember when they were young and my boys would be like, Dad, what NFL team do you think I'm going to play for? I'm like, dude, it doesn't happen like that.
1%.
It's a lot more difficult than what you even can imagine. But I just wanted them active, and I just wanted to support them. I wasn't going to grind them on it. And even today, my boys, I'll tell them, hey, come work out with me. Get in the weight room with me. Oh, Dad, okay. Well, hey, I'm not going to sit around and wait for you, but you got to want it. You got to want it yourself, and for whatever reason, there was something innate in me, a fuel to my fire that just kept me reaching. And it wasn't about like looking way far down the road as to of course I had goals, I had dreams, but it was living in the present moment, just trying to be the best that I can be on this field this day, playing Little League Baseball. I want to be the star, I want to be the best shortstop. I want to hit everything I see. Those type of feelings of just competing in the moment.
Even now on this big stage, I mean, I've heard you before and we've talked about it, the wiffle ball games. I can tell you more things that happen in my street than I can in any high school or any other moment.
Absolutely. Like those moments with your best friends growing up, just making games up, man. And I think about that today with our kids, like how they're missing out on all of that because you don't see that, or it's fewer and further between seeing kids that are active like that. The activity is different today with kids, and and that's where sports also is a good balance because it kind of forces them to get outside, to be a part of something, meet people, and all those things. So,
all right, well, shoot, man, you got me on the front by how many? We got 3.
I got you by 3 on the front 9.
Birdie start. We'll have to do that, but right now we're gonna make the turn right here, and let's switch it up.
We'll see how the back 9 goes.
Let's
go.
Get us started.
All right.